this is John from caveofprogramming.com, and in this tutorial we're just going to look at using generic classes, and I'm not going to cover everything in this one tutorial. We're going to take a bit of a deeper look at this in the next tutorial, and in a future tutorial we're going to look at defining your own generic classes. But I just want to introduce the topic here with a really simple example. So a generic class is a class that can work with other objects, and you specify what type of object it can work with when you instantiate the class, when you create objects from the class. So let's take a look at an example, and if you only learn one thing about generics, it really should be how to use the ArrayList class in its generic form. So we haven't looked at ArrayList yet in a series of tutorials, and if you want more information on ArrayList, then if you go to www.caveofprogramming.com, then you can find a whole series of free tutorials on using ArrayList and the other members of the Java Collections framework, it's really important to know that, so it's very useful. But basically ArrayList just manages an array internally, so it's like having an array, but you don't have to worry about the size of that array, and you can add things and remove things from it without thinking about the size explicitly. Now I'm going to show you first the old style of doing this. So before I think it was Java 5, before then Java didn't have the feature called generics, and using an array list used to look like this. So let's say here, before Java, I think it was Java 5, so before Java 5, if you wanted an array list, you'd say array list list equals new array list, like this. This is pretty straightforward, and I'll add the import there. And what you've got now is a object that can store other objects. So to take an example, let's just add some strings there. So I can say list.add, and I'll just let's add some fruits. So I'll say apple, and list.add banana, and list.add orange, and you get the idea. And you can iterate through the list if you want to, and actually I'm not going to show you the old style of iterating through the list here because it's a bit cumbersome and I don't want to get too far into lists here. But let's say you want to get an item from this list, you would now have to say string fruit, let's say, equals list.get. So it's got a method called get, and then you supply the index of the thing you want to get in the list, and the indices start numbering at 0, so that's 0, 1 and 2. So let's get the item at index 1, and you'll notice I've got an error here, and that's because get returns an object, and then you have to downcast the object to the type of thing that you actually want. So I'll downcast object to string, and then finally I can say sysout fruit, and if I run this, it says banana. So that was the old style of doing things. But in Java 5, I think it was, generics were introduced. So you have parameterized classes, and the idea behind generics is that you can, if you have a class that works with some particular type of object, or it could even be 2 or 3 or more types of distinct objects, then you can specify using generics. You can have type parameters which specify what kind of object you want that class to work with. So to take an example here, let's say here modern style, and now I create an array list. When I create an array list, I have these diamond brackets here, and in those brackets I specify the type of thing that I want to put in my array list. So array list is a parameterized class, it's a generic class, and with generic classes you need to specify the type of thing in these diamond brackets after the base type name. So I want this to be an array list of strings, so let's say here strings equals new array list. And now here, because I'm mentioning the base type again, once again I need to mention the I need to give the type parameter here. And now I can say strings.add, and let's add something different. I'll add animals here, so let's add cat, and strings.add dog, and strings.add I don't know why, but alligator springs to mind, so let's add alligator. And now the difference is, when I do get, I can say string animal, I'll call it, equals list.get, and let's get the first one again and just do sysout animal. Sorry, not list.get, I mean strings.get. So list was my first array list, and I want this new one here. And now you notice that I'm not getting any kind of error, and indeed it works. There's dog there, and if you hover the mouse over get, you can see that it returns a string. So because you've specified a type here, now methods that would have returned an object in the old style will now return objects of the appropriate type. And that's kind of all you need to know at the minimum about generics. I want to mention a couple more things in this tutorial, and then in the next tutorial we're going to look at how you pass parameterized classes as arguments to methods, because there are some interesting things you can do there that are perhaps worth knowing about. But yeah, so like you can have parameterized classes that have more than one type argument, and I'm just going to really briefly show you an example. There can be more than one type argument. I'm going to show you an example really briefly, but I won't go into the details of how to use this class, and if you want the details, check out my free videos on the collections framework. But there's a class called hashmap, and hashmap is another parameterized class, but it takes two type arguments. So as an example, I could say integer string like this, map equals new hash map integer string. And the point that I want to make here is just that I'm not going to get any further into this this class right here, but if you've got more than one type parameter, I'll just add the import as well so that it compiles, then you just specify them separated by commas, and some classes do, as you can see, have more than one type parameter. And the other thing that I want to mention is something unique to Java 7 at the moment, although I believe Java 8 is on its way, and maybe by the time you're looking at this tutorial, maybe Java 8 is out. But let's say Java 7 style. Java 7 allows you to miss out the kind of second type declaration. So like with array list here, we had to say array list string, and then we had to repeat it there. But in Java 7, you can say array list. Let's call this some list, and let's parameterize this. I could say that this is an array list that stores integers. And by the way, this doesn't have to be some kind of standard Java class. This could be your own class here that you've created. It's maybe worth just illustrating that point really briefly. Let's declare a class up here, class animal, and I won't give it any implementation, but just for the hell of it, down here I want to say this is going to store animal objects. So you can see that this works with any kind of any kind of class at all, and I'm going to say here equals new array list, but I'm just going to use the so-called diamond operator here, which is a pair of empty type brackets. And if you do that, this list, it will still be a list of animals, but from Java 7 onwards, Java will actually infer what kind of type of thing you want to put in your list if you declare a variable of the appropriate type and set it equal to a new parameterized class, and just put these diamond brackets in. So that's particularly useful with something that takes more than one type parameter, or you can even have like nested type parameters, and that can get really messy, because here you could have, for example, like I could have a map of lists, and then it's very handy just to be able to specify empty brackets like this and not have to repeat the whole convoluted nested parameterized diamond bracket thing there. So that's it for this tutorial, and as I say, if you only learn one thing about generics, which you can get away with doing really, because you don't need to use them that much, then it's just this that you should really know. And of course you can iterate through this array list with a for each loop, which we covered in a tutorial on arrays, but that's not to do with generics, that's to do with lists really. So at its basic level, it's pretty simple. Just remember to repeat the type wherever you repeat the base name, although you can miss it out for the second time in Java 7. And that's it for this tutorial, and in the next tutorial we're going to look at passing parameterized parameterized objects I should say, to methods, because there's some complications there. So join me again next time, and you can find this code on caveofprogramming.com, and until next time, happy coding.